Gentleman now speaking normal. I wish to introduce Farmer Wade from Billboard Battalion. Billboard Battalion, many of you know about him. He's fighting actually for our lives and our children's lives, our grandkids' lives and everyone. So please come up, Farmer Wade, and give him a great welcome. Just before I introduce him and give a bit of a bio, there's a key. Someone's lost a key to their car and it's been found on the ground near the barbecue. If it's not yours, don't claim it and take the car. Key. I'm John. No idea what card this is. Anyhow, the key is there. Now, the next thing I really want to show you is this. This is a donation box, and I have really talked about it a moment ago. And look, we really want to give these guys, these three people, Farmer Wade, Belinda and Nick. Where's Nick? Here? They're a formidable team. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for it, but I won't have any more money. It's going to come down there, not now, but when you leave, put it in the, here, Graham.
Yeah, grab it, you might use it.
And put it on the table. Put it on the table. So when you leave, please look, you know, if you got a few bob like, not me, make a good donation, seriously. But if you can't do that, it doesn't matter, put a couple of dollars in. But it's going to be a gift for them to come all the way from Victoria. And of course, there's quite a few $100 to put this event on. So we would, you know, just support the event. That'd be great. Right. This is the bio of Farmer Wade. Wade Northhausen was born in the Goulburn Valley in north central Victoria, brought up on the family's dairy farm. At 20 years of age, started to become heavily involved in the politics and the legal activities that were being levelled against farmers by not only government but also institutions such as the banking industry. Wade soon started to see the huge levels of corruption at government and institutional levels, and he has listened to more and more people in the political field start to understand that this was not happening by accident, but in fact as an orchestrated and deliberate global plan. This plan was intended to destroy Australia, our business, our food production, mining and energy, manufacturing, and end up with everything in the country being owned by the foreign corporates and the collapse of our country and our national identity. Wade has been involved in many political issues over about 40 years and for a long time has been fully committed to fighting in the political and social systems to educate people and make them aware of what is happening and to save Australia from these deliberate, premeditated attacks. In June 2022, Wade formed Billboard Battalion, which is dedicated to the objects of fighting for Australia, saving our farmers, our kids, industries, and to safety and well-being of the Australian people. As a side note, I actually saw that first video and he made some predictions that I thought, really? And they've come true today, and he'll tell you about them. Billboard Battalion is now made up of three people. Nick down there in the red shirt, that beautiful looking lady, where are you, Belinda, over there? And this rough looking guy over here, Farmer Wade. and they fight every day to keep our country safe by trying to bring together our community and the people of our nation, as this is the only thing that we have left to fight with. Billboard Battalion will continue to travel Australia and inform people of what is happening to them and why, and what we can do about it. Now, this is me speaking personally. I've also said about the donation, so I won't repeat again. So I now introduce you to Billboard Battalion. Farm away.
G'day everybody. I might just jack this up a touch. Get that a little bit before I start. Okay. So a very big thanks to John and Edna we've been staying with John and Edna for a few days here since we got into South Australia, and John and Edna are certainly old school country hospitality, and plus. So we've met some really, really terrific people. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We've met some really terrific people since we've been here, and many of them are John and Edna's friends and so on, and just terrific quality people that we're dealing with here. So I think getting across here to the Adelaide Hills part of South Australia, this is a beautiful piece of country over here, and we've had a bit of a look around and so on. We went the other night to spend some time with the Adelaide Hills Council, and there's a fair bit happening at council levels across the country, and I think that we really need to be taking a lot more interest, as John and Edna and his team do with the councils here, the local councils. So I'd encourage everybody, get involved with what's happening. This is your land, this is your country, these are your families who are going to be affected by things. And the councils have taken on a very, very big role in terms of selling us out, particularly with the World Economic Forum, the Agenda 21, the Agenda 2030. They're well and truly down the path of destroying our lives. So I just want to commend John and Edna and his team, and for the people who do put in the time. Right across Australia, there's people who go to Council Watch. They try and get things happening. They try and get things fixed up, and bringing to attention the things that are happening from particularly a lot of the councils that sadly we seem to be becoming infested with. I don't think any greater one would be possibly Geelong Shire Council, Bendigo Shire Council. These people, they're just shockers, absolute shockers, 100% on board with all the climate change rubbish, destroying our councils, destroying our place. That's what they're about. So, I think they're pretty well. I don't think they're on the right side of history. I don't think they're on the right side of our country. And I really do appreciate the people who put the time and effort into going to these places and doing the hard work, because I know that, as John and Edna and company have found, a lot of these councils try and really rough people up. We heard from a previous speaker here today about 2 people who got on the council, bullied out of it. Well, I say push them back. Do not allow these people to push you out. I know there's so much that's going on. We've got really terrific people put in the time and effort, the same as Mark, to get elected into places. So therefore, we need to support them as hard as we can, and we need to smack a few of these around. I mean, not obviously. John, what are you saying? Stop saying that stuff, John. What the hell's wrong with you? These councils are making laws that affect your life, as does our state governments and our federal terrorists. Governments. John, enough of that. So anyway, this is what we're dealing with, and I just wanted to say thanks for all the effort that everyone puts in at those levels, and a big thanks to everybody who's made the efforts to come here today. I know there's a lot of people here today have travelled quite a distance to be here, so that's really terrific. We would like to see a lot more of our younger people turning up at these things, because we're fighting this for you. You know, we're fighting this for our kids and for our grandkids. And, you know, people of our age, we've been here a while and we've seen what Australia was like when it was great. And we can see how it's going downhill, it's crashing and burning. And these filthy scum who are doing this, well, I mean, the best I can say, I think, is they should be jailed forever. That's the nicest thing I can say. I could come up with other suggestions, but anyway, we've got a nice crowd here. So some of the things we'll talk about today, many of you people will already know, but keep in mind is that, you know, we're every day, and some of the stuff that might be a bit repetitive, people who haven't seen it yet, they need that as a baseline, they need that as grounding, and so just bear with us. And I'd love to, as I said, say a really big thank you to everybody who's made the track today. And you know, John and Edna and crew have put on they've put a lot of effort into this. I know exactly how much they've put into this. So yeah, a real big thanks to everyone and to all our other speakers. Our entertainment from earlier this morning, it's been a terrific day, and this is the epitome of a country town hall get together with community, and that's the main word. So I just want to look at some of the things here, and just for those watching, today we're coming to you from Gumeracha in South Australia. Today is Saturday the 13th of December 2025, and we're at a really terrific town hall here and a great community. So thanks to everybody for watching, and for those who watch this in the future, that's where we're coming to you from. This is country style. So I just wanted to look at some of the issues that are going on in our country at the minute, and some of the issues that are really coming to the fore and are incredibly under threat. And, you know, we're going to talk in a minute about under threat from who and why and how. But just as we go around the countryside, and we've been doing this for a long, long time, thanks to John for your great introduction. But we're focusing probably mostly on since June 2022 is when we formed Billboard Battalion, when it became obvious of the COVID scam, the fraud, in fact, the whole COVID attack on Australia and on the world. Some of us who have been in the game for a long, long time, we were expecting this. We knew it was coming. We've heard about it for years and years and years. And when it finally gets to that point, it's incredible how many Australians have all of a sudden come on board. They became the conspiracy theorists that many of them used to hang it on us about being. The old thing about going down the rabbit holes, the information that people suddenly found out and started to work out, you know, they had a crisis, not a crisis of natural origin. It was a man-made crisis that was forced upon us. It's an attack. It's a plan to destroy people. And that is what brought the pressure to bear to make many people understand. And what we're seeing now as things roll out and as more pressure comes on more people, they're starting to react and fight back, and they're starting to take interest and learn. So that's why all the people who talk and speak and go around the countryside, that's where it's so important, because that information's there for when the light bulb comes on for people, that's there for them to see and hear. And that's the big part of what we do. We plant seeds all over the countryside, and when people, I go, hang on, I know what that is. And the most important part is that when COVID first was thrust upon us, they got what they wanted because so many people were confused and frightened. And a part of our role is to educate people as to what's going on so that they're not confused and frightened anymore. They recognise it straight away that their governments and the foreign terrorist organisations who control them are actually launching an attack on them. So therefore you can respond. And as they said in the movie, if it bleeds, we can kill it. Just saying. But the thing is, if you know what you're dealing with, it doesn't frighten you. You work out how to fix it. You work out how to take it on and defeat it. So, we've got a lot of things happening in the community now, and a lot of things that are causing enormous angst and pressure and problem. And I'll tell you right now from the get-go, the majority of that is deliberate. They want people to be frightened and worried and scared and distressed, not being able to cope. That's how they wear people down. Just want to look at a few of the we heard just earlier on there from Angela. One of the things that I've got down here is our attack on our kids, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we've got in our sector, my particular thing is farming, as people would know, and our farmers are under absolute attack by these filthy scum. They're in the business of trying to destroy our family farms. Our mining industry, that's under enormous threat. The amount of mines that have been shut down and the amount of mines and stuff these days that are not getting approval because of all the garbage that's going on. Many banks will not lend mines money to do what they need to because it's against net zero. Well, you can take net zero firmly with both hands and ram it right up your nose. Net zero is a weapon against us. It is a fraud. It is a lie. For those who, probably not around here, but for those who are in the fishing industry, the entire south coast of Australia now, the fishing industry is in the business of being shut down. And we talk to people from South Australia, we talk to people from Western Australia, and what's happening is that the terrorists who run the joint want to put up all this renewable energy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the very near future today and why that's a big issue. We're also, industry is being destroyed. Construction industry. It looks as if it's going all right at the minute, but look at the stuff they're setting up. Our land ownership and home ownership, all this is under threat. And a lot of people said to me, how would they ever take your house off you or your farm or your land? Well, now we're seeing the mechanisms they're putting in place to exactly do that. Cost of living crisis. Yes, that's an attack on us. They are deliberately doing it. The cost of electricity, just for one example, energy. We look at what they're doing in the Parliament, and Albanese said, yes, power prices are going to go down. Renewable energy, it's cheap. No, it isn't. These people are barefaced liars. And the most important thing to understand, they hate you. They hate us with a passion, and they're doing everything they can to destroy everything we have. We see now massive floods of migrants coming into all the Western countries. That is not an accident. That is being done for a specific reason. And for anybody who might say, that's all racist, you go shove it, because it's not. Why don't you rack off over and live over there? Because we've got some very, very, very serious stuff happening. And once again, this is all part of a specific plan. The false pandemics, the frauds, absolute fraud, a total con. Climate change, once again, a total absolute fraud. And that has a military and a political reason for being. There's nothing at all that supports the whole man-made climate change is going to kill us. That is all barefaced lies. And I talk to the scientists who know this stuff. With regard to the pandemics, I talk to the doctors, the medical experts and the scientists about all this stuff. I know these people. And the one thing that you won't find is all the government-paid scientific prostitutes and medical prostitutes who will not debate the real scientists and the real doctors in a public setting. And that tells you everything you need to know right there. They are in the business of destroying our national identity. What we see these days is mass confusion, is our entire community being turned into basket cases, particularly the kids coming through the schools and the people who come out of universities. And I know we've had a few people here from universities. G'day there, Graham. But well, that's a badge of honour, mate. Graham said they kicked him out. And I have a bit of a saying that there's some very intelligent people come out of university, because if you can go into university and come out still being able to think straight, well, I think you're incredibly intelligent. So that's just because the one night that we did go to university didn't end up so well. Anyway, that's another story. Destroying our family. These people are specifically bent on destroying our families, because family is everything. Family, community, it's security, it's foundation, it's strength. And I must say that one of the things that they are also in the business of destroying to break down our countries is, and as everybody knows, I'm not really all that up to speed with being religious and so on, but to take down religion. And it seems to be one side of religion. There seems to be one side of religion, or I don't know what you call it, basically, yeah, anyway. There's one side of religion that gets a free run everywhere, and the rest of them get kicked in the guts, smashed, knocked down and whatever. And that's a particular strategy, because once again, people of faith, that gives them strength. It gives them foundation and community. It's sort of like another version of a family. And they need to break all that up. That's why we're constantly seeing all that being attacked. So these are just a few of the things that we're dealing with. And as I said, the attack on our kids through the education system, they're attacking their mind, their intelligence, their emotions, and also they're attacking them physically. So all this is happening. We heard a speaker talk about that just before, and this is very, very real and very serious. And any normal person would identify that as as incredibly dangerous. But sadly, we see so many of these school teachers and media people and politicians, they're pushing everything that's bad for our kids, for our country's kids, for our youth, and they're turning them into whack jobs. So no other better example than, you know, some kid that goes to school and reckons it's a cat or a dog or something like that. And I do say, I can remember, I can't remember it. If I had to come home from school in the late 70s and said to my old man, better get your mind right because I'm now a cat. Wow, that wouldn't have ended well. I would have come a big leather strap, probably about 60 seconds of mental training. That would have been the end of your cat career. I don't think the school teachers would have done too well either, because if it got to that, well, that would have got sorted out as well. So we do need people to stand up and take a stand. I've never ever called anyone a cat. I'd tell them exactly what was going on. I do get stuck into a lot of school teachers, and it's amazing that if you have a crack at them and you break that stereotype, a lot of them will go, oh yeah, well look, I don't really agree with that either, but I've got to do it. Why? Why have you got to do it? Get some guts, mate. Have a crack. This is Australia. These are your kids. What the hell's wrong with you people? Get rid of your stupid looking purple, green hair and the red, blue crap and pull that stuff out of your face. Get a bit serious, eh? What the hell's wrong with you people? I had to go into a Shire council. We were hiring a hall. And anyway, this Sheila rocks on down and she's got this crap hanging around her neck and it says, him, her. I said, what the hell is that? She said, what do you mean? I said, that crap you got hanging around your neck, him, her, are you that delirious or confused or what? And she said, thank God somebody else feels like that. She said, I've got to wear this stuff. I said, you don't. Pull it off and throw it at them. Anyway, apparently you get the sack if you're in the public service and you do that sort of stuff. It's no wonder our country's stuffed. But we all have the capacity to come good, to say, no more. You take it and you shove it, because we heard farm away, mate. We're not doing this anymore. This is Australia. But people need to understand these are specific attacks on those people. It's to break down social cohesion. We hear a lot about some new offence. The AFP are going to go after people who, and any other those spooky kind of creeps who are getting around the place, who are telling us that they're protecting us. They're in the business of keeping us safe. Well, how about you rack off, I'll look after myself, because you people are the problem. So I went looking for the AFP last time we were in Canberra, and they're pretty hard to actually find. They don't want to. I wanted to do an interview with whoever this dragon is running it, and anyway, they don't seem to want to talk to someone like me for some strange reason. Got no idea what that means. Must have found out I know you, John. They probably thought you and Edna storming through the door. That's something they don't want to be dealing with pretty well. But so we've got, who are the people in business here? The World Economic Forum, the United Nations, and the World Health Organisation. They're the organisations who are the public front of what's really going on. But you know, you talk about the other bit deeper stuff, and most people got no clue what you're on about. So at least these ones. These are like the shop front, you know, where they launder the money from the drug dealers. So the WEF and the UN and the WHO are made up of very, very serious terrorists. And very sadly, most of our politicians now are working for them, because they are the ones who put in place the legislation that these criminal terrorists need to wipe you out, to take down our country. And they've been very, very successful about that. So it's they're into, as they say themselves, they openly say, they're into infiltrating the governments, the cabinets, and they've been doing a great job. And now we see right across the world that these World Economic Forum have invaded so many of the governments around the world. This is now so obvious. This is why the world is in trouble, because you've got a bunch of sociopaths who now run it, who want to get rid of the population back to pre-industrialised times. They openly say this on the World Economic Forum stage. They want to pull it back to 500 million world population, as opposed to the 8 billion or so that's around now. So these people are serious. They tell us what they want to do, and then they tell us how they're going to do it. And people just allow that to happen. What's going on? This is bizarre. The level of corruption that is in our governments now, these people should be jailed forever. They should be absolutely jailed forever. We heard Tim talking earlier today about our Constitution. Well, these people have garroted our Constitution. They have totally worked out a way to get completely around it, because they have infiltrated the High Court, the Governor-General, the politicians, the Parliament, and therefore that's all the people that say under the Constitution they can't do this or they can't do that. Well, they just did. So therefore we have a problem. And that tells you the level and the depth of corruption. And as a country, we need to take that back. Now, we've got a lot of people who talk about constitutional law, what's happened to. Well, I think first of all, before we can take our constitution back, we have to stay alive. And this is one of the biggest ticket items that is on the agenda for anywhere, is that we have to stay alive first. And in doing that, we have to get the population. They're in the business of making them dead. So therefore, we need to work as one unit, and pull everybody together, get them on the same page, get rid of these stinking politicians. And the only way we can do that now is through weight of numbers. And we have 28 million people in this country, and these other scumbags only have a couple of footy teams. So therefore, we can take them out easy. I mean, down, not take them out. John, stop that. You're a bad influence. I was never like this before I knew you. But to be serious, this is the only mechanism we have left, is we the people. So therefore, we've got to round up and rally we the people. And that's a big part of what we're doing here. Big part of why you're here. Because we care about our country, and we care about our families, and we care about criminals, corrupt, who want to get rid of our lives. And I, for one, will not just stand by and see my kids be killed by these filth bags and just do nothing about it, quite frankly. So they've got into not only our governments, but our universities. You look at a lot of the lecturers and that now, the universities, they're ex-commos, or they're ex-socialists, or currently serving. They're all bent in the head. We've got to get rid of them because they're bad news. We've got to get our universities back to a situation where they can think straight. They're also into the unions, the trade union movement, infiltrated by the old commos. They are now told by the Labor Party, don't tell your members what's going on, actually just support us, don't say anything, you're not allowed to. And the Labor Party is basically a terrorist organisation. That's how they operate. The old, if anyone remembers the old BLF of the 80s, that's how they operate. I know people who have been involved with them, and they turn very, very nasty. Physically violent, nasty. So, and then we've got the good old Greens. Yep, okay. Don't need to say much more about that. Other than the Greens hold the balance of power. We've seen in the federal government, in the Senate, that the Labor Party and Greens have combined. They have created legislation in the last few months. They didn't need the rest of them. So when, as Mark was speaking there before, and I talk about this all the time, when we see people saying, don't vote, the system's corrupt, but we can't afford to be in that area. Because I was told years ago, if you are not happy with something and you abstain, just remember the people who are in the room will make the decisions. And that's what we're dealing with. So to Mark's point, we need everybody to be going and voting, take an interest, support people like Mark. Last Parliament, we lost at least one senator and possibly others who should have got in because people didn't vote. So that left it open slather for the Labor Party, the Greens, all the left loonies to get them in, and now they just run roughshod. They laugh at us, they spit in our face because they've got the numbers on the floor to do anything they want. That's why we've seen the terrible things we've seen, we're going to talk about in a minute, come through the Parliament and get through. And we're going to look at something that I believe is going to be very serious in the very near future. So the strategies that they've got, we've just talked about, but they're even worse. Because the media, our information, And now they're getting the legislation coming through that they want to get through in order to give effect to the World Health Organisation. Now, for people who may or may not know, we just became signed up to the World Health Organisation on the 19th of July this year. And that's what a lot of the stuff that's happening now is all about. But if we have a look at a few of the things that we can see here every day, the systems that they've put in place to bypass our constitution or to whatever you want to call it are now blatantly obvious because they just do anything they want. And at the minute, if we don't force them to adhere to the law, this is the nature of criminals. They don't take any notice of the law. They just do what they want. And they're doing it because the population isn't stopping them. They're just, every time the population takes another hit and sort of goes and whimpers a little bit and licks their wounds, this empowers them even more. Now, this is where we talk about the courage, the strength of people, of us. And I know they do talk about, you know, where are the men? Well, we've got a lot of women also who aren't there. And I think we need to say, where are the courage of the Australian people? And at the end of the day, to me, the most important part of courage is to tell the truth. And if that upsets some people, well, that's tough. Who cares? Because if the truth upsets people and frightens them, then maybe it's supposed to. Because I can tell you right now, if people are in fear, that's the only thing that motivates most people. If they think they're going to lose something, if they're going to get squashed, I don't know, hurt, damaged somehow, that motivates people. Telling the truth, then that's to motivate them and get them in this fight. We've got a number of people who run around the countryside and they say, oh, you know, there's not much to worry about. COVID's over. Go back to your life. You know, if something happens, we'll call you. Well, something's happening all the time. And people who do that, they, what I call, dumb down the population. They don't shoot straight. They don't tell the truth. And to a large degree, many of the problems we have now are because of people just like them. And we find them in the freedom movement. We find them in the trade union movement. We find them in the medical profession. We find them in the agricultural industry. Matter of fact, all industries. So therefore, we need to be saying to people, don't dumb stuff down. I've had discussions with people about a lot of these churchy people. And some of the issues we've got there is that the Christian side of it, for the want of a better term, they're not fighting because they've got so many of the leaders in the church side of it going, turn the other cheek, mate. Don't say this. Don't say that. Just accept this stuff. And then, on the other hand, we've got the enemies of decency saying they're going to take over every country and they're going to do all sorts of things. They're going to create Sharia law. They're going to make people live under that. And I'm here to tell you that if you see any of the stuff and you listen to testimonies from, in particular, women who have lived under that, yeah, that's not good. So it's rather incredible to see a lot of the people and the attitudes that they have towards all this stuff. People who don't know, or they're indoctrinated, or they're too stupid to understand. But anyway, they seem to be willfully moronic. And anyway, that's something we've got to sort out. That's part of why we do what we do. I know, probably going to get some going, oh, you're racist. Yeah, you go shove it, mate. We don't care. We deal in facts. We deal in evidence. We deal in what's actually happening on the ground, what's real. So one of the big ticket items that we've got going on these days is surveillance. surveillance of people. I can remember 25 years ago when us crazy conspiracy theory nutters, now I'm doing that air thing, mate. Do it a bit though, this happens a bit. The people who say, oh, what are you talking about? They're going to have surveillance and facial recognition. They're going to have things connected up so they can track you. You're an idiot. You're a conspiracy theorist. How's that going for you? You brain-dead morons. Now, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine. But if you're going to oppose that, at least have the decency to know what you're talking about. Because we did a bit of a video there a little while ago. We're going across a bridge just this side of Gundagai up in New South Wales. And they've got a box at each end of this bridge. This box is bristling with cameras and stuff. And we did a little bit of a short video across that, and it went nuts, went off its head. Because this thing said, oh, it's just counting cars. Well, it wasn't. You don't need that many cameras to count cars. You drive around now, they've got things hanging over the top, they pop them up everywhere. That's all about surveillance to own you. It's not about controlling you, it's about owning you. That's what it's about. So that is a real problem. And we need to be pushing back against that. And everyone just goes, oh, well, we've got cameras everywhere now, you know. No, hell no. And if some people like Mark get into a job in Parliament, that's the sort of stuff we want our politicians pushing back on and calling out. So we've got stacks of them who don't do that. It's all about not only control, owning you, shutting you down. This gives them the power under all the things they're putting in place to shut your life down so you can't move, you can't buy food, you can't get anything. So we need to push back even harder. We are in very, very serious times. We're in deep water right now. This stuff is happening everywhere. We look at the bank accounts that they want to control, the digital currencies, the ESGs, the ESG score. Let's have a look at the under 16 ban. So the under 16 ban to get on the internet, now everybody is going to have to provide ID, be in that system to just get on the internet. They tell us, Albus Leasy gets up there and tells us how, you know, they're keeping under 16-year-olds safe. The hell you are. You're a liar. What they're actually doing is they're killing under 16s. They're jabbing them, they're murdering them, because everybody knows that 16, 17-year-old people in the peak of fitness run around, drop dead of heart attacks. Everyone knows that. So, you know, let's push back on this stuff. Let's have a big say about it, because that's what it's about. It's about getting people trapped in a system. You go into the supermarket, they've got facial recognition technology all over the joint. Bunnings tell you that's what they've got. You know, this is shocking stuff, and we need to get rid of it. And the politicians are a big part of the problem there. Language. When we're talking about things, we've got to use powerful language. So many people, you know, they use wishy-washy crap language that doesn't say anything. You know, they just, oh, well, this is this. No. Smash it, and smash it every time. And if you hear people using weak language, chip them about it. Because we're either a part of the solution or we are a part of the problem. And they use language brilliantly. We don't, you know, we use such weak language, and that's a big problem. One of the things that people say about what I do, they say, at least we love the way you just shoot straight. There's no mucking around, tell it as it is, call it for what it is. And that's what we all have to do. Excuse me. They're weaponising our police and our military against us. What happens overseas? We saw what happened in Melbourne. So we need to work on our cops and our military every day, us as we can. Excuse me. To say to our cops and our military, you're Australians, mate. You need to get with us. You need to be with us. Not working for them, because they are shockers. They are terrorists. And the next time round is going to be worse. So we need to lean on the people who we know, our families, our friends, who are cops, who are military. They call us now domestic terrorists. Anybody who doesn't agree with them, we're domestic terrorists, or we're white supremacists, or neo-Nazis. They're great at throwing this stuff out here. Now, the bottom line and the facts are that, do we have Nazis in our country? Yes, we do. Do we have active Nazis in our country? Yes, we do. Where do we find them? We find them in Parliament House. We find them in Spring Street, I think it's Macquarie Street, Parliament House, Canberra, the Australian Federal Police headquarters. Not so much the rank and file cops, but the ones who are running them. They are the Nazis. They're the real ones, and they're doing what the Nazis did. So therefore, we have to be very, very hard in pushing back and not allow them to call us these kind of things, because we are not that. We are simply the people who are trying to be truthful and honest and keep our kids and our community safe. So for people who might look at international things right now, have you noticed England is on fire? England is now a war zone. And once again, the soft language coming from people about that. Oh, Starmer's immigration policies, blah, blah, blah. The tax that they're trying to put on farmers is unfair. Get real. Tell it as it is and say the tax that Starmer's putting on the farmers is designed to send them bankrupt, because it is designed to see a massive transfer of ownership of land from family farmers to multinational corporates. These are one of the structures that they put in place to do the you alone nothing situation. And when people say to me, oh, how can they take your land off you? This is one of the strategies. Here in Australia, we've had strategies that have sent farmers broke. 2011, they banned the live cattle export out of Western Australia. 2007, the 2007 Water Act, which gave birth to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, and that then sent huge numbers of family farmers broke. Massive transfers of land into the hands of multinational corporates. Banning the sheep exports out of Western Australia. That's going to send another whole range of family farmers broke. Every time they do something, it's designed to do that. The new laws we've seen passed in Parliament in the last couple of months in Canberra, they are designed to break farmers. That's their purpose. That is what it's about. And in England, the family farmers there who are going broke, that's why they got war on the streets. They are now combining with all the people who are now saying too much immigration, too much Islamic immigration coming into Britain. And now this is, I think they call it a Class C genocide. This is where you bring in such enormous numbers of other cultures into your country that your country vanishes. They take it over. And they tell us that this is openly the plan. And this is not an immigration problem per se. It is a deliberate attack on the country, because whether you're looking at England or Australia, the US, whether you're looking at Germany, France, the Netherlands, the whole place, all the Western countries are seeing enormous influx of people from totally different cultures, and that is by design. This is the language I talk about. We must use the correct language, is because it's not just an immigration policy, it is an attack, it's an assault on your country and your cultures. And I just wanted to say that we're seeing a few things happening in Australia where we've got the March for Australia. So the March for Australia is all about trying to stop mass immigration. Now, does anybody have a problem with immigration? No. We're pretty well all immigrants from somewhere. But you've got to have it in something that's manageable and something that doesn't overtake your country and destroy it. And that's what we're seeing. So we saw in Sydney, there was a big march across the Sydney Harbour Bridge, people for Palestine and so on. And I just wonder how many of those people realise what would happen to the women in Australia if they got what they want, if they had Sharia law come into Australia, which is on its way. I wonder how many women in Australia would go, well, Sharia law's all right, you know, because at least they tell you the right way to stone a woman to death. The right way to bury her halfway into the ground, and then the right amount of rocks to throw at her head, you know. I wonder if any of these brain-dead half-wits who marched across the Sydney Harbour Bridge understand this stuff. And a whole lot of stuff that's even a million times worse. So, you know, we've got indoctrinated people in this country who are unable to think, they're unable to be rational, and they're just marching around doing what they're told. So therefore, we need to take back our educational facilities, our politicians and our media, because this stuff is coming from the World Economic Forum. Back in July. What does that mean? So as Graham was talking about, the international health regulations and the One Health policy. Now that wouldn't mean it, that's just means nothing to anybody. Who would care about, means nothing. Wrong. What that was the handing over of our country completely to a World Health Organisation, which is a terrorist organisation. And so a part of that deal is the Australian government has to create certain bodies that report directly back to the WHO and enforce their stuff. And that is what we saw come into effect on the 5th of November this year was the CDC, the Australian Centre for Disease Control. And on the 27th, we saw another heap of legislation that was guillotined through. Some of it was amendments to the EPBC Act, and other stuff was the creation of the National Environmental Protection Agency. Now that sounds like a whole heap of political crap that would bore the hell out of anybody. Hell, it bores the hell out of me. But we've been in Canberra watching what's happening so we can report back to people at what this means. And what this means is that the CDC becomes overpowering of anything else in the country. And if the WHO starts to say, we've got a pandemic or the possibility of a pandemic, or we think there might be something, or we just don't like you, that gives them the power to start shutting down our country, to go back to full lockdowns permanently. It gives them the power to forcibly inject you with anything they want. Gives them the power to shut down your bank account to force you to comply. To cancel the registration on your car, to cancel your driver's licence, shut down your bank account, anything. That's what that means and that's what that's about. And that's what these politicians have done. And I want everybody, when they see this get rough, I want you to remember the names of the politicians who did this to you. I want you to write their names. Go and look it up on the parliamentary website. Write their names on your fridge, because at some point they're going to be coming for you, and I want you to remember who is responsible. And over here in South Australia, you've got quite a few politicians here who are responsible. Matter of fact, all over Australia. The other one, the EPBC Act amendments and the National Environmental Protection Agency, what that does is that gives them the capacity to take full control of your land, of farmers' land. They tell you it's only, it's a little bit of a planning, it's just a bit of a planning thing. No, it's not. That hands power to the WHO to shut down our farms, your food production, because the World Health Organization hates farmers with a passion, because we grow the food that you eat. That's why they hate us. So we're now seeing farmers all over the country who are going, what the hell just happened? And we've got farmer organisations all over the country who are going, what the hell just happened? Well, what happened is you useless mongrels were asleep at the wheel, you were dead at the wheel. In fact, you've been helping them to bring in the systems to wipe out farmers. And they're saying now, oh, well, we want to know what the restrictions are. Hell no, it shouldn't have got to that. We know what the restrictions are. They're total. We should have been fighting against this for decades. But they've managed to, I believe, they've managed to buy off somehow or other most of the leadership in the farmer representative lobby groups. Exactly the same as the people who run the trade unions, exactly the same as the people who run most things. So therefore our country's in massive, massive trouble. Now, one of their big weapons that they have against us, and we seem to be running out of time pretty quickly, just want to have some fun, is the whole thing about climate change. Now, climate change is one of the things that of the One Health policy and the international health regulations. And what they have already been arguing for a long, long, long time is that climate change is one of the greatest threats to human life. Now, we would all just go, yeah, I don't think so, mate. Sounds like a bit crap to me. But the trouble is, they're making laws and legislation to enforce this. Now, this is a very, very, very big problem, because they can come along and say, okay, so in order to keep you people safe, right, we've got to cut off your food supply, cut off your water, cut off your ability to get around, and especially cut off your ability to grow your own food. That's to keep you safe. I just hope you get that. Now, the problem is they've been telling us this for years that they're going to do it, and now they've done it. And when that starts to bite, people are going to say, how the hell did this happen? Well, it's because the Australians, they were pathetic, they were gutless, and they didn't care. And some could argue that when they starve these people out, they deserve everything they get, because they were so just terrible. They weren't decent Australians at all. They're busy and playing with their toys, going to the footy, going down to the pub, going overseas on holidays, all this stuff, having their mansions and whatever, when they should have been keeping their eye on the ball. So, as I said, many people would say, well, they deserve everything they get, and they just laugh at them when they take them down. So, at the end of the day, this is where it's at. These things that I'm talking about, they're very brief because I can't fit everything into an hour or so, but we need to wind it up by probably about another 10 or 15 minutes to try and get some questions in. But this is what's happening to our country. And well done to Mark for standing up. There's many other people who stand up, and there are some politicians who are in there that they're fighting the fight now. And we need to back them. If they're fighting for us, I don't care what party they're on. If a Labor Party bloke said, okay, well, we're going to bat on that, then I'd back them because they're fighting for us. And I can tell you right now, these people are not going to fight for us if we don't support them, if we don't back them. We can't afford to have our head in the sand because I've said many, many years ago, war is not a spectator sport. You've got to be involved in the whole thing. What I suspect is going to be happening, and what I talked about climate change, what I suspect is going to be happening early next year is that at some point someone is going to bring legislation in to say we need to shut down misinformation and disinformation on climate change. Now, to most people, might not think much of that. So why am I coming up with that determination? Because Billboard Battalion, we've been spending a lot of time in Canberra harassing the saying good day to the politicians. We're getting to do a few interviews with them. We've got another one coming up in this Thursday. So those things are paying off. And a few of the politicians are starting to see that what we're doing is actually supporting them if they're prepared to fight for us. And some of the things that we're seeing now is that the Senate has been holding submissions into what they call information integrity on climate change. Misinformation and disinformation on climate change and the effects of that. So here's the red lights coming on across the board. This is what I say. We've got red lights coming on across the board. The alarms are going off everywhere. They're going to bring in stuff to make it illegal to talk about climate change. Now, people might not take that seriously, but I suggest take it very, very seriously. Because everything that they're doing to us is under the basis of either climate change or some crap made-up pandemic. So the farmers are going to start going real crook very soon when they start to actually understand the impacts on their land. They're going to start going real crook. But all of a sudden, they're not going to be able to because it will be an illegal criminal offence to say anything against climate change or the government doing anything or anything else. Now, in England right now, they've got people who are in jail for speaking, saying something what they call hate speech. People who didn't even say anything are just thinking. They're in jail. Some Sheila over there got arrested for just praying to herself or something like that. So in the meantime, you got this other bloke who's there yelling and screaming and carrying on, calling to prayer, all this other rot in the streets there with police guards. So the Pommy Coppers are the biggest bunch of traitors to England they've ever seen. They should export them to, somewhere, because the police in England, they're helping to take down their own country, their families. I don't know what's wrong with them. They've obviously got some very serious mental problems. Nothing to tap on the head with a brick wouldn't fix. But, the whole joint's going to hell. So we are the last line of defence. And we need to stand up and fight back against this stuff. And we need to take the information we have. And one of the biggest problems why we're in such a shocking situation as we are, because we've seen so many people who they're banging their own drum, they're pushing their own wheelbarrow, which in terms has nothing to do with what's actually happening. We've got so many podcasters, commentators, reporters, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, activists, who they're talking crap. They talk what I call 80% truth. Just enough to suck people in to go and buy their stuff and whatever else. They won't have a go. They won't tell people. I talked about courage. Courage is truth before. They won't tell you the truth. And this is why we have people say to me, look, Wade, I don't know. I'm just so confused these days. I don't know. You say this, and then someone else says something, and someone else says something different. I got no idea what to believe. So I wanted to put together a summit. I don't know, 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever it was now. Bring all the leaders together and say, let's sit down at the table and work out a plan of where we're at and what we need to do going forward. And I can't tell you what I got told to go and do. Because these people, they've got their own little niche now, and they won't work with anybody else. They're milking this. They're not informing people of the things that are so critical to their safety and their survival. I worked out something ages ago. A copper said to me one time, a crime can be committed when people have motive and opportunity. So what we've seen is the likes of the WEF and the UN and the WHO, they have motive. And our politicians are giving them opportunity. That's when you get crime. That's when you get crimes against us. What can we do? As I said, the biggest thing is language. We need to have strong, powerful language, not wishy-washy crap, because that just confuses people. You may as well not even bother. You may as well go fishing or something. That's what we need. That's called strength. That's called leadership. That's called courage. To have the right language for a start. And I think that pressuring politicians, incredibly important, because from the ones I've seen, they go to water. If you continually hammer them, and I'm not talking some kind of physical violence, I'm talking just pressure, just continually. And what narks them the most is if you are respectful but firm and you talk to them with integrity and with honesty. They hate that because they're not used to dealing with that. They've been their specialty is to tell lies and corruption and the rest of it. But if you're just persistent, that narks them. You'll get reactions. The best thing that they can have you do is go in there yelling and screaming and swearing at them and abusing them and carrying on. They've got you then. They're just some lunatic. Get the cops, throw them out. That's the best thing you can do for them. We're above that. We're better than that. Other thing, industry groups, trade unions, farmer industry groups. And when I say farmer, I mean agricultural. We need to put pressure on those leadership. We're going to town on the National Farmers Federation now and have been for quite a while. And we're loading up the pressure. There was a bloke called Hamish McIntyre. He's a new president after David Johinke. And we've got a bit of a campaign going, where is Hamish? Has anyone seen Hamish? Anyone at all? Because Hamish he seems to have vanished. Because I want to just do an interview with Hamish and say, listen, here's a few questions. Where's all the millions and millions gone that you've been given to represent Australian farmers at exactly the same time as you're selling Australian farmers out to the government? You're just a rubber stamp for anything the government wants. Victorian Farmers Federation, I thought we were working all right with them for a bit, but they seem to have gone a little bit dodgy as well. And one of these issues that we just saw in Parliament, this new law on the environment. So what we've got from the VFF so far is, look, it's nothing much to worry about, just a little bit of a planning thing really, just no panic. However, the Queensland Minister for Agriculture, Tony Perrett, is going off his head. He's saying this is an attack on Queensland farmers. And we've got a few other politicians around the country starting to say the same thing, because it is. They're actually telling the truth, albeit far, far too late. So therefore, this is a major thing we need to push back on. And as the Australian people, We need to push back on these new laws that they're going to try and bring in for the misinformation, disinformation about climate change. So keep an eye open for that one. We're going to have to be doing something pretty big about that in the new year when this comes up. This is where we're going to need every Australian to push back on them. And I think that we're almost at the point in England, as I said, we're seeing now farmers invading London with tractors. We're seeing the Netherlands, the same thing, France, Germany. We're seeing all over Europe. Farmers now, because they're being pushed into a situation where they're going to lose everything they've got. We've seen here in Australia, some of our Australian farmers now, out through the Wimmera and the Mallee, they're starting to stand together and fight against the wind turbines, against the transmission lines, against the government giving these companies open access to their properties. We're starting to see the farmers now stand up and fight. And we need to see this across Australia. And I can see that we're going to get to a point where we need to call all our farmers and community members. We need to call in on the likes of the transport industry, the likes of the construction industry, the likes of every industry we've got going, because this is where we have to work out a way to pull Australia together to fight against a common cause, our common enemy. So maybe one of the big ways that we have to do this is to start industrial action, load up industrial action. And farmers, if you can get farmers out on the job to do industrial action, you know things are crook. Because farmers are, when it comes to industrial action, basically one of the most useless mobs that you'd ever come across. So they wouldn't sort of fight in an iron lung. But this is where we're at. And we've also got to get other people, and this is what Bilbo Battalion is trying to do, talk to people in unions and say, well, you're about to lose everything you've got. And I had this in 2011 or 12 or something like that, when we were running a lot of the stuff against the water being taken off farmers. And some of the union people contacted me and said, hang on, if the farmers get the water taken off them, they can't grow their crops, we'll lose our jobs in the factories. This was the AMWU, Australian Manufacturing Workers Union. And they, yes, you will. So I went to Melbourne and I met with their union bosses in Melbourne, the AMWU. Biggest bunch of useless scumbags I've ever had the misfortune to clap eyes on. They were not interested in their members. They could not give a stuff about their members or their members losing their jobs. What the union leadership was interested in was supporting John Brumby and the Labor Party. That's all they were interested in. They did not. The unions do not care, and this is Australia-wide. I would make this statement. The unions Australia-wide could not give a stuff about their members. They have no interest in them, other than they get money off them. And if any ACTU leader wants to debate me on this, bring it. Let's see what you got. We'll host it on Bilbo Battalion. No worries at all. Because you people are selling out your members. And these are some of the big ticket items that we as a community, we need to go into our workplaces. I have no idea where most of the people here today work or what they do or what their families do. But this is where we've got to go into. We've got to go into the medical profession, and we've got to hammer them on the fact that COVID-19 was an attack. It was a fraudulent attack. That the so-called COVID-19 vaccines were a biological weapon. When I hear people say to me, oh, you know, it was just an experimental vaccine. No, wrong on both counts. Number one, it was not experimental. It was completely perfected. Number two, it wasn't a vaccine, it was a weapon. So therefore, we need to say this to people. You know, I know people in the freedom movement who still say, oh, you know, it was a biological, it was an experimental vaccine. Just got to sort of smack them across. Do you understand anything at all? Their mantra. You're repeating their language. Get decent language. Just tell the truth. So, now these are just some of the things that we wanted to bring here today. I've gone a little bit over time, but that's okay. I know the boss. We've got to have a bit of a Q&A for those who might want to ask some questions. We'll get a bit of a panel up here, round up a few of the people and the speakers and get them up. We can talk. So I'd just like to say a very big thank you to everybody who's come here today. As I said, I know some people travelled 7, 8 more hours to be here. To all our terrific speakers and to everybody who's helped here today, whether it's... What are you up to?
Getting Kimbo.
Oh, a bit scared when people start doing that behind me.
No,
so the people who have helped to support us here today, organising the food, helping with the hall, this is a community effort. This is what community is about. So I'd just like to say a big thanks to our speakers, our audience, the people who are watching on the lives, the people who are going to be watching, and I hope that we get some information that's current, it's up to date, it's what's happening in Canberra, it's the laws they're making that are going to affect you. Because I'm here to tell you right now, there's a lot of people who would rather be doing something else. There's other people around Australia who are doing things and they couldn't give a stuff about what we're talking about here, but I guarantee you they're going to. Because the legislation and the things they do in Parliament are going to impact your life. That's absolutely going to happen. And like I say, there's a lot of people say, we don't want to hear about that stuff, Wade. You know, it's too stressful. I don't want to hear about it. Well, I say to them, you're going to hear about it, whether you want to or not. It's a matter of whether you do anything about it. So... just one thing I'll just touch on, the CDC bill. Now, because we're in Parliament so much, we ran into a Greens senator from Western Australia. His bloke is Steel John. His name is, Steel John. And he's a bloke in a wheelchair. And he's the Greens spokesman for disabled people and health. And I sort of bailed him up in the shop there and I said, what's your attitude to the extension of the NDIS program? And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, in Canada now, they're doing more and more of what they call MAID, medical assistance in dying. What they mean is they're murdering people. And I said, if this is the plan for disabled people, for old people, this is what they're bringing in. And anyway, he never seen a bloke do a wheelie in a wheelchair before, but he gave it a bit of a crack. He couldn't get away fast enough. And I said, I wanted to talk to you and do an interview. And anyway, he's gone, contact my office. Yeah, well, we already did that, mate. Send us an email then. Yeah, we're already 2 of them there. So anyway, he said, I'll get someone to contact you. We haven't been able to secure a interview with him, but we're going to keep pushing, because for people who keep an eye on what's happening in Canada, in Trudeau, World Economic Forum, World Health Organisation Canada, they're killing people over there. And they've either just made changes or they're about to make changes where they are now prepared to murder kids without their parents' knowledge on things as small as if they have a bit of a mental health issue. So this is very, very real. I saw Maria Z talking just the other day about bringing in artificial intelligence to run the medical system for anybody over 65 as to whether they're worthy of getting any medical treatment. So this stuff is very real, it's very serious, and for those who don't want to take any notice of it, well, you deserve what you get. It is what it is. We're at that point. There's no room here for niceties and all the fluffy, cuddly crap. We're at a very serious point. We're dealing with an enemy who hates you. They want you gone. That's their plan. We have the power to fix it if only people give us stuff enough, they listen enough, and they're prepared to take some action, and that's where it's at. So we're fighting for our kids, we're fighting for our grandkids, we're fighting for your kids and grandkids as well. We're fighting for Australia. On the table there, we've got our Anzacs there at the going down of the sun. We will remember them. Well, you better damn well do a better job of remembering them, because they, in many cases, gave everything for us, and we're throwing it away. So, you know, we see the politicians turn up on Anzac Day, they'll lay the wreaths and they'll talk all their crap about the sacrifices they made, and the politicians are the one who are undermining our Anzacs. They're undermining our country. So therefore, we are the last line defence. We are the spirit of the Anzacs. And if we don't fight for it, who else is going to? And if we don't fight for it, why would we expect anyone else to? So, all right, people. Well, I'd just like to say a big thanks to everyone. Thanks to John. Thanks to Edna. You know, they've done an amazing job, and we've just thoroughly enjoyed being here in South Australia. We've got to get back to Victoria another couple of days, so we've got more meetings on over there, and so on. So thanks for your support. Thanks for coming, and we'll catch up with you another day.
What an inspiring speech. That has brought tears to my eyes. How inspiring is that? Who can stay for just 20 minutes Q&A? Can you all stay? Or, yeah, some have to go. We'll do a quick Q&A. So the speakers, Graham, Mark, wherever you are. Mate, Tim, get up here, mate. Behave yourself. And we'll just put some seats out. Kimbo, how do we get them? Oh,
yeah, it's not working though.
Kimbo, over here, mate. What's that?
There's a little prize to give to someone.
Matilda's got a prize to give to someone.
Sorry.
This is still on it.
That's just video.
Take a seat, mate. All in the seat. Right. Sit down, Graham. Right, can everyone sit, please? All pay attention for a minute. Okay, we all quiet? I've designed some rules. No speeches. Get to the point with your question. You guys, you listening, give quick answers. Otherwise we'll be here all night. Okay?
Could you fire up the barbecue again?
Righto. First one to put the hand up. Right at the back, I see him. Am I a bit? Thanks.
Mike Cartledge from Murray Bridge. Thank you to everybody for organising this, and the speech has been really good and a lot of worthwhile information. Wade, I'd just like to ask you, you mentioned some of the politicians that you deal with that are doing the right thing and helping, standing up. Would you like to mention some of their names?
Thanks, John. Yeah, good on you, mate. Thank you. So, Central Bend in Canberra, we've done interviews with Tyrone Whitten, who's a One Nation senator. We've interviewed Barnaby Joyce, who's, well, ex-Nationals now, and gone with One Nation. Malcolm Roberts. We've also interviewed Ralph Babette. He did a really great job. Sean Gill. No, Sean, yeah, Gill. Yeah, Sean Gill. He's Bell, sorry, yeah. Yep. I know another bloke, Sean Gill, that sort of only thing. So, yeah, no, Sean Bell, we have interviewed him. And so we'll be doing more interviews in the very near future, which I think is really, really great. So it's good to see that we're giving them an opportunity to speak where we're not mainstream media trying to chop them down all the time.
Next hand. Right at the back.
Hi, this one's probably for Tim, but I'm curious
Can you
to know...
speak into the microphone?
Sorry, I'm curious to know about taxes and who do we pay taxes to, and basically getting our Commonwealth of Australia back in operation.
Thanks, John. Paying taxes. The tax code says that if you're self-employed, tax is voluntary. Your accountant won't tell you that. Every time you go to your accountant, he'll tick a box to say that you're filling in your tax return again next year. People don't pay any attention to their tax. They just know, oh, I've got to pay tax. It's a whole conference in itself on Australian tax law. This is our constitution, the annotated version of it, and there's 1,000 pages. The Australian tax law is 22,000 pages. Not that they want to complicate it, but the thing is, pay a lot of attention, and if you're self-employed, tax is voluntary.
Anyone else out there?
I don't know how much has been said or done, but for people who are not necessarily politically aware, Stalin and Pol Pot eliminated farmers. They eliminated farmers. And of course, don't forget Holodomor in the Ukraine, where people starved. Millions were killed. So if we don't, the rest of us, are we educating people about that history?
Who's the question to?
Oh, whoever feels actually able to answer it.
Thanks, John. Yes, absolutely. Mao also killed, starved people to death. You know, we've seen millions of people starved to death. And what we're seeing now is a very, very close second to what Stalin did. They're starting to make farmers public enemy number one. And they're saying to people, farmers are responsible for 32 to 38% of this terrible greenhouse gas known as carbon. So we've got to shut them down. One of the big ticket things they're bringing out is a product called Bovair, which is designed to stop cattle from producing methane. It's actually killing them. I've actually done interviews with people overseas, and the government is forcing them to feed this stuff to their cattle under the whole climate change fraud, and their cattle are getting sick and dying. So this is one of the big ticket things that we've got going on. They're trying to terrify the people. I saw an interview with some brain dead kid where he said, you know, farmers are creating the greenhouse gas and climate change. Oh, well, we're going to have to get rid of farmers, aren't we? So that's what we're dealing with. So this is very serious and very real. A great question, because starvation is one of the greatest weapons of war they have.
More questions? This guy here's, I'll give you a plug, mate. You're a First Nation, One Nation candidate. You'll be fighting against this bloke, won't you?
No, we won't be fighting. I'm sure we'll be working together. So
go ahead.
Look, I just wanted to say I've come across something some time ago, and I've spoken to MPs and politicians, and no one's been able to shed any real light on it. Here in South Australia, if you go to regional plan, look at our individual titles. Bit of feedback. When we go through that and you tick the box, Indigenous owned and managed land, over all our properties it's coming up as an overlay, Indigenous owned and managed land. Now, I've got no information on how that's got there, where it's come from, and I just wonder if anyone's got any information on that.
Okay, it's a little bit hard to just hear exactly what the question was, but you're talking about native title or some kind of Aboriginal title over land or something?
So effectively, on regional plan, you bring up the property titles and there's a list of key overlays.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you go to the overlay and there's a box that's called Indigenous owned and managed land. If you highlight that box, it doesn't come up automatically, and then you go back and click on your title, it comes up as Indigenous owned and managed land. I've gone to all properties from my local area, down south, all over the place, and all our properties are coming up with that overlay, Indigenous owned and managed land. I've spoken to MPs, I've spoken to our Minister for Housing and Infrastructure. No one can
suggest that this would be Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So the voice was voted out when they had it last year, and now they've been bringing in stuff that's going to do the same thing or even worse, but at a state level. So they're bringing in all sorts of different things. In Victoria now, they've just signed a treaty with Aboriginal something, and now they've made a claim over Melbourne. So there's an enormous amount. And with regard to the United Nations and the Aboriginal stuff or Indigenous stuff around the world, this is one of their primary strategies, is to get into these kind of groups, and then they make claims over all the land, and ultimately it ends up back with the United Nations, because what I'm finding is that the leadership of the Aboriginal side of it who are doing this, they don't care about the Aboriginal people. They're happy to squash them and wipe them out as exactly the same as anyone else. They're working for the UN, and they're in the business of taking all their land off us, and that is one of the mechanisms that they're using to do it.
Tim wants to make a comment.
Okay. Now, just on that, if you look at your current title on your land, it'll say property type, fee simple. The word in fee simple has been taken out with the new digital titles. And in the 1896 Halsbury's Law of England, if the word in is not attached to the title of fee simple, then you have tenureship for the life of the owner. You don't own the land. Now, property held in fee simple is the strongest known in quantum and has been since the beginning of legal history in the United Kingdom. So if your land is not in fee simple, which it's not, they've wiped all our titles, therefore this gives them the right to say, well, you're really just a tenant and it's only there for your life and it cannot be left as part of your estate. This is what gives them the right to run the Aboriginal program over the top of it.
Mark would like to add to that.
Just want to reiterate what Wade said. UNDRIP is a very, very important document for people to research, and I encourage you. There's over 47 articles, maybe even more, and I'd like you to read them one paragraph at a time to really become familiar about what the plan is. The United Nations Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People will end up undermining everything you do. When you have a look at the old map of Australia and you had 250, 300 Aboriginal nation groups, through the voice to Parliament, they actually had 7 districts which encompassed all of them. So there's a lot of Aboriginal people within Australia that didn't actually agree with that. This is the land councils working with the corporates in the United Nations that are looking to undermine land rights. And you can see this here in South Australia. We need to take a very close notice of what's happening in Victoria because our government is pushing ahead with the Indigenous voice to Parliament, and we're going to be talking about treaties and everything else. So if people really don't believe that their land is not under attack, it will be into the future. And I do raise concerns about that, David, and I will be, obviously that's something that I'm very hot on and I'll be following up as well.
I have a question of Dr. Graham Lyons. He's writing a hell of a lot of notes and I want to know what they're about.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm not here as a spy. I'm learning on the job. So writing down just what these well-informed men here have been saying about the property story. Sometimes you've just got to stay in your lane. Well, no, I don't know. I'll become lukewarm. Then I won't use strong language, which Wade, actually I was very impressed with his emphasis on the need for the right sort of language, and Mark and Tim know about this, and John. That's crucial because, I've always tried to use the right sort of words when I give a talk and things, and they are important. And a lot of this is an information war, and we need to get that right. So, yes, I'm learning about, the fee simple story and in fee simple. Yeah, I had heard about it, but hadn't studied it to the depth that Tim has, So that's what I was writing, Mr. Tim.
Okay. I have a question of Mark Nugent too. I don't want to take over this show, but the big thing is, Mark, you're standing as an independent, and I believe what you've said is unbelievable. You can vote with your conscience. Farmer Wade says, we compromise it if we don't tell the truth. Absolutely. So my biggest question is, what is the biggest thing that you find that you have to, what do you need to get you over the line?
Oh, really? It's really just awareness. So for me to get over the line, for starters, anybody's just raising awareness. If people do want to find out, I can email forms. I've got about 10 people out there that are helping with getting signatures for my nominations, right? So that's the first thing is I can't do anything, I can't campaign until I'm actually registered as an independent candidate. So it's really just raising awareness to say to people that here's a guy that's standing up as an independent. For him to get across the line, we need to get some more signatures for him. I want to go way beyond the 250 because I don't want the Electoral Commission to give them any reason to push me back and not give me an opportunity to run like everybody else. The state government's already put enough blocks in the way to prevent minor parties and independents from coming up against the major parties, right? So that's the key thing. The other thing is that thing I mentioned about preferences when you're voting. Now you might, like One Nation's got a great name, they're up in the polls, people know them, they've got a brand name. If you're looking at voting for One Nation or even Family First or United Voice Australia, that's fine, vote for them, but consider putting me at number 2 if you're not considering putting me at number 1, because what happens then is you end up getting them elected, but there's a potential for your preferences to get someone that's like me, that's like-minded, across the line as well. So preferences are very, very important when you look at it.
Just one point on that. If you support, like, get the signature, there's no obligation for them to vote for you.
No. So you can belong to a political party, you can belong to a different political party. The nominations is really just so the Electoral Commission can see that there's enough people that believe that to give you a crack at having a go there, right? So you don't have to vote for me, and you can also belong to another political party. It's really, I mean, the 250 is a bit of a stretch, because I think political parties only need 100 members or so, whereas an independent, you need over 250 people backing you. And that's, look, I kind of get that, because you don't just want anybody putting their name forward just for the sake of it. You want people that are going to be committed. Now, I'm obviously, attending things like this to obviously put myself out there, but that you don't want people that are just going to half-hearted, I'm just going to put my name on the ballot, and then the white ballot ends up being, 20 feet long. You want decent people that are actually going to have a go, have a proper crack. So I get the 250, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
2 questions. Dr. Graham Lyons, I've asked him if he wants to say something else, and he said, yes, I'll make it up.
It's going to have to be instantaneous. You often find, I think, that people are involved with other things, so it's hard to get people to come to events like this in big numbers when they perceive that there's not something acute and critical facing them. Like we got our biggest numbers with those rallies. I was at one where there were 100,000 people late in 2021. I think there were 20,000 here in Adelaide, which is very good for Adelaide. It was soon after the police put that pregnant young woman in handcuffs in Ballarat. That's what got a lot of people out. And but we don't want. There'll be stuff like that happening again. So you'll find when they try another tyranny dump, that will pull more people out. But I hope it's not too late by then, because of all of what Wade mentioned that's going on. It's not easy to get people out. They've got so many other impacts on their life, as has been mentioned here today. And there's cricket on today. I saw them playing out there on the village green when I arrived. And people have got to pay their mortgage and stuff. Anyway, yeah.
We knock off after 2 more. Farmer Wade, you're the boss. How many? 2 more?
I have another couple, and then
2 more and then wrap it up. Who was it? Yeah, right down the back there. Oh, and Bruce, you want to talk?
Yeah.
Right.
Wade, you touched on the one of your first things you talked about was council overreach. Now, I have a particular dislike for councils because I've had dealings with them, and I really, words can't describe. But my question is actually to Tim. Because councils have no lawful authority, because several times it's gone to referendum and it's failed every time, surely, and I've been told this, and I believe this is true, that you can challenge them by asking them to provide you with lawful proof of authority. And as they have no lawful authority, you'll stop them in their tracks. What are your thoughts on that?
It's very difficult dealing with councils because they are so belligerent. You're correct. Constitutionally, we've had 3 referendums, 3 times the requirement for local government has been voted down. The challenge you have is this. We think we're dealing with government, we're dealing with corporate. This law is, so it comes under corporate law, and then they take you into a corporate court, and we have no proof of this except in Elizabeth, when somebody had a council matter, they couldn't see their name on the list in the court, went to the somebody in the court and said, oh, look, I can't find my name on the board, I've been called here today. And, oh, what's your matter about? Oh, it's a council matter. Oh, you're in a private, and he stopped. Oh, you're in courtroom number whatever. What they were saying was you are in a private court. Now, we only speculate this at this point in time. We do know it happens in the United Kingdom, and we do know it happens in Canada, that the council will take you into their private commercial court. They've hired the room in Canada and the United Kingdom, and we believe here. They also have hired the magistrate. As most people don't turn up for their council matters, keep in mind it's not law, it's not constitutional law, it's corporate law, it's corporate contract law. Therefore, the council matters get banged through very quickly. You don't stand a snowball's hope in hell because it's designed to go against you. You think you're in one jurisdiction, in actual fact you're in another. And therefore, the council gets their wish and the magistrate gets 25% of the take of the day.
Bruce, this is the last question.
Quick one for Wade. You know, you've obviously have done a lot of good work and everything with you and your team, but don't you think it's nearly time just to wrap up and hand it over to someone else?
I like that, Bruce. As a matter of fact, I actually wanted to bring Kimbo over here. Come here. He's partner in crime, and he said stuff all. So come on, get up. Bruce said it's time that I shut up. So.
No, for Wade. You're talking about Wade.
Oh,
no, Wade. I think he was.
So just to clarify, John, the question is, isn't it time for me and Bilbo Battalion to pack it in and chuck it in and go home? So that would be a hard no. Not in this lifetime, not ever. So we've got a country to fight for. And like I say, you know, we've got kids in World War I, they lied about their age. They got on ships, went overseas, and they charged heavy machine gun fire. They took artillery fire. So what we're doing is nothing. So we have to honour them.
Just wanted to quickly mention about Tim with councils and that. I've been getting some phone calls off people, obviously people raising concerns about stuff because I'm looking at running, and mentioning about their houses being repossessed by council for not paying council rates. Now the council has massive amounts of power with their legal team to be able to do that. And you might say, well, why are people just not paying their rates or whatever? Some people fall in hardship and there's meant to be some mechanisms in place. I know of a story of a lady that wanted to put payment plans in place. They sold the house from under her. They were going to send the cops around to evict her from her own place because they take that. That's a massive overreach, and I think it needs to be investigated further, and lots of noise being made about that, because if councils have that much power, it's very scary.
Thanks, mate. This is where we're going. This is what people need to understand, and I'm just trying to think Tim would be able to help us out here, that I think the councils now all have to borrow money from the one financial organisation that then the minute they do that, and Tim will be able to tell you better, every property in the Shire then becomes collateral. So, what's that?
Where'd they get the money? The UN?
No, possibly IMF, I think. But anyway, Tim might be able to give us a bit more info, or Mark or somebody. But you know, when our old Klaus Schwab says you'll own nothing, then they mean it. And once again, as I said earlier on today, these are the mechanisms they're putting in place to make it so as you don't own any land anymore. So this is serious stuff, and this is like I say, fix bayonets and man up and sound the charge, because it's on right now.
I wanted to ask Tim. Tim, what is your opinion of what's happened in England, that they've banned trial by jury?
Yeah, the English system has fallen faster than we have with their constitution. It's clear indication that the trial by jury, it's very difficult here to get a trial by jury because the courts are not operating as what we call a Chapter 3 court anymore. It's operating here in Australia as what's called a star chamber, where one man sits in making the decision over another man. That's a satanic star chamber. In England, again, unlawfully to their constitution, they have ruled that there will be no jury trials. Here in Australia, we're very, very close to it. Until you actually, if you find yourself in a situation in court, you must ask and demand that the judge or magistrate give you the actual jurisdiction that you are sitting under, because you'll be sitting in one place, a particular type of court, and you are in a star chamber, satanic court, and that's where we are in Australia.
One last question.
It's actually not a question. I just want to thank you very much for great information here today, lots of subjects. But for everybody that's here today, with the new strain of flu that's coming out, and Nicola Spurrier yesterday spouting that we should go and get a COVID injection, for all of you people here that probably aren't speaking, or maybe not speaking to your families because of what's happened through the COVID thing, the Australian Immunisation Handbook on the 3rd of June of this year made a new recommendation that children under 18 should not be injected with a COVID injection, and it says because the benefits do not outweigh the harmful effects. So if you're not talking to your kids or whatever, perhaps just put them onto that. It's on the government website. It's the Australian Immunisation Handbook recommending that children under 18 should not be having this injection. Sorry
Thank you.
about that. There was no question.
Ladies and gentlemen, that sort of concludes today's event. But Kim Kingdom, stand up, mate. This guy here hasn't spoken. Give him a great round of applause. And he's going to close the meeting.
Thank you, Jod. He says I better not pump his tyres up, they might burst. Thank you all you guys up here. Awesome. I've heard many reports back, the little I've interacted, that it's just been awesome today, right through. And the first three speakers, and I think one of my mates said, how can it get any better? And it got a lot better. So thanks you guys. It is serious. We're in the battle. It's within. We're getting attacked from within. And I said way before, Islam, I'm going to speak it out. It's big. It's big. Their aim is they come in and build up the population, as I said, with immigration, till they've got the numbers more than you, which is happening in UK. And look what's happening. So we've got to wake up and speak truth. And I love the way Wade's saying, yeah, speak strong, speak strength. We've got to stop the mammy-pammy. There's no more time for fluff, as I've said that myself. So for all of us, yeah, there's guys, there's different people in place. These guys, I like to say God's put them in place. He's prepared them. And for some of us, wherever we are in our communities, in our families, as Jeannie just said then, we can all do something with whatever level or place we're at. So I'd like to encourage all my crew, every one of us, you've got something in your hand. So be encouraged to go out, come boldly, get out there and have a crack and yeah, join in the fight. We're all together. Together we're strong. And the aim of the enemy is to get rid of God, get rid of family, just split us up so we're fighting against one another. And they're sitting in Canberra and in their half a dozen mansions laughing at us, as Wade said. And it's very, as Wade's put it very bluntly today, and I'm one for that too. We just got to call it as it is and know our stuff, as these guys are well researched, and I know I've got to do more of that, as I've heard today, and we get our facts right, and we just go out there and we call it out, and we put it to them. You explain. They always, one of their tactic is to trying to get us to justify. So we've got to put it back to them. You guys, come on, explain COVID. Why are we doing that? Why are we, yeah. So anyway, haven't spoken much today. I better not take too much liberty. Thank all you guys, I always say, all you guys out there, everyone making the effort, as there's football and there's bowls and there's cricket and there's every other thing we can go and do. The Romans called it bread and circuses. Keep the people occupied while they go and do what they do. So we've just got that same thing again. So I just encourage you, all of you, keep up the joy. The joy of the Lord is our strength. Keep positive. Keep fighting, keep up there, and don't look back, we look forward. We've got to look forward, because we get negative, we get in the doom and gloom, but there's lots of good happening, even in Canberra, seeing One Nation, seeing the Liberals. Something must be going on, because they're actually doing something at the moment. Where has Leigh been? She's been there 2 years, but all of a sudden she's actually saying something, not to mention what they're doing, all the state leadership. So I believe they're shaking in their boots a bit, so I'm confident we can get the victory. It doesn't take many of us, does it? We get the 5% to 10%, and that's us here and a few more in our families. So keep up the faith, keep fighting, and I'm believing we get victory coming in this great South land very soon. I believe we're on the brink of it. So keep fighting, everyone. Big thank you. I see all the workers, from Belinda to Nick to Edna sitting down there, as John, he says a lot of good things and he gets up and he makes a good show. But Edna there, his secretary, she's working like hell behind the scenes. So good on you, Edna, for supporting you, man. And that's the same for everyone supporting each other. So that's it, I think. There's probably a lot of others to thank. So thank you. Have a good trip home.
It's about educating yourselves and understanding that you can take the system on and beat it. I've done it recently, going to court over a traffic thing. I stood up to them, I stood up to the judge, I stood up to the prosecutor, I got educated before I did all of that, and I beat them. I won.
Amen.
It is possible. It's just got to educate ourselves.
Yep.
And learn, understand how they operate.
Amen. Thank you, brother. There's a bit of organic flour up the back of mine. If anyone wants some cheap, I don't want to take it home. If anyone's interested in home baking, come and see me. Thank you, everyone. Great effort.
You're doing baking skills, are you? Teaching baking? I just say